Hello, sir. I'm V. Raghavanand and my register number is 19BCE 1415. So I'm here to present my digital assignment 1, that is analysis of logistic regression using KNIME software. So KNIME is a software tool which is used for building workflows and analyzing machine learning models. So I'm going to use the KNIME software in order to analyze logistic regression using a data set. So this is the data set that I've taken from Kaggle. So this is called as social network ads, and it is a categorical data set to determine whether a user purchased a particular product depending upon their estimated salary and age. So this is about the file which has user ID, gender, age, estimated salary, and a column which says whether they purchased the product or not. So depending upon the age and salary, we're going to the target column that is purchase is going to predict whether the particular customer brought the product or not. So this is the data set after downloading. So this is a dummy column, which basically consists of serial numbers that count the total number of rows. So this data set contains about 400 rows. So this contains about 400 rows and 4 columns, as you can see here. Excluding the dummy column, we have 4 columns over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns over here, including the target column. So what we'll be doing is we'll be removing the user ID column because it will not really be necessary for our model that we are going to train, because user ID is something that is not going to influence a customer that while purchasing a product. So that is not necessary. So apart from that, we'll be having 4 columns, out of which the purchase column will be the target column, whether depending upon the age, estimated salary, and gender, we'll be predicting if the customer purchased the product or not. So this is about the data set, which contains a gender, which has a couple of values, male and female. So age is basically ranging from 19, 35, 26, contains a large number of values. And then estimated salary is in the range of thousands, 19,000. It's even in the range of lakhs. So it has a large number of values. And this is the column that we are going to predict. And it contains only 2 values, either purchased or non-purchased. As we can see, it is a categorical variable. And that is what we are going to predict using logistic regression. So moving on to the software, this is the KNIME software. It is an analytics platform where we'll be able to build workflows, and we can build machine learning models and visualize graphs, see the accuracy, see the confusion matrix, see how well it has predicted, use a variety of models. So that is something KNIME is used for. And this is the software that I'm going to use today in order to predict the value of the target column, whether the customer will purchase the product or not, using the variables present in the data set. So this is the workflow that has been created. It has been kept ready. So I'm going to explain this workflow step by step and see how the model has been built using logistic regression. And then we are going to have a look at how the accuracy statistics, how well the model has panned out, and then how it predicts the values, a comparison, kind of like a comparison between the predicted values and what the actual value is in the data set. And then we're going to have a look at something called as pie chart or a donut chart, where we're going to see if see the number of predicted values where the customer purchases the product and the customer does not purchase the product. So we're going to visualize that part, and then we're going to have a look at the accuracy statistics. So the first thing that I'm going to start off with here is the CSV reader. So our data set is in the form of a CSV file. So this CSV file is present in my desktop. So it's currently present in my desktop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import my data set inside this CSV file reader, and that's what I've done over here. So as you can see, Raghav/desktop, and it's in my desktop. Purchase prediction is basically the name of the data set that I have it named. So that is present in my desktop right now. So that is being read into this CSV file. So the column delimiter is of course a comma, because it is a comma separated file is what CSV file is known for. So the first step. So we are going to eliminate some columns because we won't really need certain columns in order to do the following prediction. So what you're going to do is look into this transformation part. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm having 5 columns, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and a 6th dummy column. So this is something that does not even have a header existing. So what I'm going to do is column 0, I'm going to remove it. If this was ticked, it means that I'm including the column. So I'm not going to include the column, and hence I'm going to remove that particular column, and user ID as well. So user ID is something that has a large number, but I don't really need that column because that user ID is not going to, have a major impact or to be precise, it is not even going to have an impact if the customer is going to purchase the product or not. So that is the column that I'm going to drop off when I'm going to do the visualization. So I'm dropping the user ID as well, which is a number. So all the columns that I'm going to have over here is the gender, the age, the estimated salary, which is over here. You can see it expanded, and the purchase column, which is our target column, which predicts if the customer purchased or did not purchase the particular product. So we're having 400 rows over here. So it keeps on going, and these are the columns that are required for our model. So that is as far as the CSV file is concerned, and we're gonna click OK. So the settings were not changed, so I'm gonna just keep it as it is. So the next thing, after we've read the file, we need to do something called as normalization. So we'll have a look at what normalization is. So normalization is usually done in this case, because in this case, we are actually doing something called as a min-max normalization. So min-max normalization, basically what it does is it brings large values to smaller values in the range between 0 to 1. It scales down the values in the range of 0 to 1 so that the model is easier. The model becomes more accurate when it predicts the values because it can handle values in a common range much more better than it handles large values. As we can see here, age is in the range of 19, 35, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, and so on. Even though that might not sound very large, we can see that the estimated salary is pretty large. It has 19,000, 20,000, 43,000, 57,000, lakh, even a lakh and a 50,000. So these are pretty large values. So this is something that we need to reduce to a particular scale, relatively bring it down so that the model can understand the data set better. And for that particular purpose, we are going to do something called as min-max normalization. So the minimum value I've given here is 0, and the maximum value that has been given is 1. And the columns that I want to include for the min-max normalization is age and estimated salary. So the age and the estimated salary are two columns that I want to bring into normalize so that the large values that are present there are going to be brought down in the range of 0 to 1. We'll be seeing that after the prediction as to how important that was too. So I'm going to just click OK, and the min-max normalization has been completed. The further part. So we've read the data set, we've read the CSV file, and then we have normalized the values, and we are now ready for splitting the data into training and testing data. So what I'm going to do here is split the data into training and testing data, where 80% of the data I'm going to be feeding it for training, and 20% I'm going to be feeding it and use it for testing. So we'll have a look at the configurations for this partitioning. So as we've mentioned here, there are two options actually available in the KNIME software. In the absolute value, if I click the absolute value, I'll be able to enter the number of rows that I exactly want for training the columns, training the model. But if I click relative, I can use the percentage. So if say I want 70% for training, 75% or 80% for training, I can mention that over here. So for that part, I'll be using relative for this model because it's easier to mention the percentage rather than mentioning the exact number of rows. So that will be my first partition. Whatever the value that I give over here will be my training data. So that will be fed into training data, and the other part will be fed into testing data. So as we can see here, 80% of training data and 20% are fed into testing data, and that we can actually see over here. So as we can see here, we are feeding the data set, a file table that consists of 400 rows and 4 columns. And after we pass it over in the normalization, we can see that the normalized table is found. As you can point the cursor over here, 400 rows and 4 columns, and normalized data will be fed into the partitioning. And after partitioning, I've partitioned it into 80% as training and 20% as testing data. And here it is the first partition. So this partition consists of 320 rows and 4 columns. So this is my training data, and this is my testing data. This is my second partition, which is the remaining rows, which is 80. So there are a total of 400 rows as we saw initially. So this consists of 320 rows, this consists of 80 rows. So the 320 rows are used to be going for training the data set, and the remaining 80 rows are going to be used for testing the data set. So this is as far as the splitting of test and training data is concerned. So as we move on, the next thing we're going to do is set the target node. So the target node is basically the column which we use for prediction. So let's have a look at the configurations. So the target column. So the target column that has been mentioned over here, you have a couple of options available over here, which is gender and purchase. So what observation we have here is that it only takes in categorical variables as its target value. So it is important to mention, make sure that your target column or the column that you're going to predict is of categorical types. It is not in numerical values. So it will only be taking your categorical variables as target columns. And you have a couple of options. And obviously, I don't want to predict the gender. I want to predict if the customer purchased the product or not. So I have clicked purchase over here. And this is something called as reference category. So the reference category basically in purchase column has a couple of values. It has purchased and non-purchased. What it does is that if I keep the reference category as non-purchased, it will give me the prediction value as to how much probability there is if that the customer actually purchases the product. If I give purchased over here, the prediction table will be something that will look like the number of the probability that the customer did not purchase the product. So if I set it as non-purchase as the reference category, I'll be getting the answer as the probability as to how much there is a probability that the customer will purchase the product and vice versa. So I've set it non-purchased over here because I want to see the probability as to how the customers are purchasing the data. So the columns that I've included. Now, this is very important. The columns that I'm going to include over here are the columns that will be used for training the data set. So I obviously don't want to train the target column as well, right? So that part, I do not want to give it as part of the training data as well, because that will only result in overfitting. Everything will get trained and automatically that will give you the 100% accuracy, which is not good. It will only work for the data set. So I need to make sure I include the proper columns that are there. So user ID, obviously user ID and the dummy column. So user ID and the dummy column that was present was obviously eliminated in the initial status itself. So I need not worry about including that over here. So the remaining columns that I have out of the 4 columns are gender, age, and estimated salary. And those are the columns that I've included over here. And based on these 3 columns, we'll be predicting if the customer purchased the product or not, which is our target column. But the solver that we'll be using over here is something called as iteratively reweighted least squares. So this method actually works better with the number of columns that are present in the data set is relatively less. Say you have 3 columns or 4 columns or 5, 6 columns. This solver is usually better than solving it because it iteratively reweights least square method. So it's a much more better method when you're solving the when it comes to data set having lesser columns. There's another method called as stochastic average gradient. So that is used when the number of columns are really large. And for that particular option, we'll be going into the advanced settings. We'll be setting the learning rate, which learning. So we'll be setting the learning rate, we'll be setting the step rate, and we'll be setting the number of epochs as to how long the model has to train itself, how long it needs to iterate itself in order to get the best prediction. You'll get suggestions in your console over in the 9 software as to how many epochs you need to set in order to get a prediction. So that is something that we'll be using if you're using the stochastic average gradient method. But however, since the number of columns that we have here in this data set is relatively lesser, only 4 columns, we're going to use the iteratively reweighted least squares method. So this is about training the model. So we have trained the model and we are going to click apply, and I've already done that. So this has come to the green stage. So green stage basically means that my model has been trained. So what I'm going to do is, this is the model. As we can see over here, this blue box over here is my model, and I'm going to pass it on to my logistic regression predictor component. This is my component that is present in 9 software, which predicts my values based on the model that it is taken as input. So this is the model that is over here, and I'm taking the model from the learner and putting it through the predictor so that it can predict the values. So what we are going to use for predicting the values, that's when not testing data comes in. So what we've done here so far is that we've used the learner in order to predict the training data. We use the training data to make the logistic regression model, learn from it. And what we're going to do is that we are going to use the testing data in order to predict the values from the model that was trained from the training data, which is the perfect way to test if a model is working fine or not. So that's when it comes to predictor node. So we are going to use predictor values. So as we can see over here, the configuration, the column that's predicted, I've named it as purchased because the column that already exists over here is actually purchased. So I'm going to name that column as purchased or not. So we'll be getting an extra column which actually holds the predicted values in comparison contrast to the actual values. So that is about this configuration. And I've done the prediction of values, and then we'll be having a look into the accuracy statistics. If I click execute in
execute, this prediction will take place. I'll take a small amount of time, but I've already trained everything and kept it ready so that it will be fast when I explain the concepts. So this part has already been done. And after this, I'll be sending the predicted data. So as you can see here, the predicted data consists of 80 rows and 5 columns. Initially over here, we had 80 rows and 4 columns, which was our testing data. However, after we have predicted, we can see that an extra column has been added. So it is nothing but our predicted data. So a predicted data, the predicted column, whether the customer has purchased a particular product depending upon our age, salary, and so on, is over there. So that is the extra column that has been added after this prediction has been done. And I'm passing it to my scorer. So scorer, basically what it does is it takes in an input, as you can see here, and it'll give me the accuracy statistics as to how the model has been trained, and it gives me an idea as to if I need to improve my model or anything. So that is something that a scorer does. So we have a look at the configuration of that as well. As we can see here, the first column is the purchase column. The purchase column is nothing but the actual values of the target column. That those are the actual values of the target column that are there, and the second column is the purchased column. So that is the predicted data. So the predicted column which we want to compare with the purchase value. So if I set anything like gender or purchase, I do not want any of the columns, right? I need the target variable. So I've set it as purchase, and the second column is purchase, which actually has the predicted values. So after I've done this, I can actually have a look at the, after I click the execute and I'm having it ready, we can actually have a look at the accuracy statistics button that is present over here. So this is our accuracy statistic. So as you can see here, even a confusion matrix is present over here. So we can actually have a look at the confusion matrix separately. We have an option to do that as well, but we can have a look at it here itself. So we can automatically see the purchase column and non-purchase. We can see the number of true positives. So what true positives means is that the number of purchased and non-purchased columns. True positives basically means that the the prediction is also purchased, and the column that has purchased in the actual value is also purchased, and the predicted value is also purchased, and that is the case where we get 49. And next comes non-purchase. True positives, and then we come it as non-purchase. Non-purchase is the case where we're having non-purchase as prediction, but it has predicted positive value. So if the actual value is not purchased and the prediction comes out purchased, that comes under this case. It is a negative thing, right? So that is something we can have over here as a confusion matrix. This is actually better explained over here using confusion matrix because we can have a perfect idea along with the columns and rows over here. So purchased, non-purchased. So purchased and purchased, if both are equal, it has 49. So if it is actually non-purchased, but your column is predicted purchased, you get 8 out of that. If it is purchased and your predicted column is non-purchased, you get 3 values. If it is non-purchased and non-purchased, which is true, it's a true negative, you're getting the perfect values as 20. So that is about the confusion matrix. And we have over here what is called as the accuracy statistics. And after having a look at our confusion matrix, we can see the recall over here that is predicted, our precision, our accuracy, which we have got is 86.3%, which is a decent model that has been trained for a data set. Anything above 85% is a good model, considerably, relatively a good model, a decent model that predicts the given values, right? So that is something that we can have a look at in the accuracy statistics. So after we've done with reading the file, we've normalized the values, we've done the partitioning, we've learned the model using logistic regression. So logistic regression, what it basically does is it gives you a prediction of how, the actually in the predicted column, it will actually give you the probability that a particular column that you predicted is true or not. So that is what this does, right? So we are going to have a look at the predicted data as well, which gives the clear idea of how many columns has been added after the model has been trained. So it consists of age, gender, age, estimated salary, purchase, and the purchased column. So over here, this is the column that we are using for prediction, and this is the column that has the actual values. So as we can see here, this is the part where the min-max normalization comes into place. So we actually saw in the data set that it had large number of values, 19, 35, 26, and 19,000, 58,000. But we can see over here that it has been reduced to the range of 0 to 1. So what this has done is that it has allowed the model to train in a better way, more accurate way. So that is the purpose of the model over here. We can see that there are from the columns over here. And these are 80 rows because this is only the tested data, right? So the training data has already been done, and we're seeing the results of the testing data. So we are seeing if it perfectly predicted or not. So in some cases, even if it is not purchased, it is predicted purchased. But we can see if it is purchased, predicting purchased as well. And if it's non-purchased, it will predict non-purchased as well. So as we can see over here, non-purchased and non-purchased. So a lot of values have been predicted, and there are certain mismatches that we have actually saw during the confusion matrix, depending upon whether it is a true positive or a true negative, or if it is a false positive or a false negative that we saw over here in the confusion matrix. Now, after we've done all the accuracy prediction, it's time to have a look at some visualizations to see how our model actually panned out. So I've kept it in the display state so that I can execute and show the values. So this column, these two, finite or the donut chart as it's called, is a visualization of the values in the predicted column in comparison to the actual values. So it compares the predicted values and the actual values. This one, I'm using it for the testing data alone. So this contains the actual values, and this actually contains the predicted values. So I've created two donut charts or two pie charts over here so that we can have a visualization of how it predicted the number of customers who purchased and did not purchase the product. So first, I'm going to execute the actual values. So I've taken it from the testing data, directly taken it from the testing data and fed it into the donut chart. And as we can see the configuration, I'm going to have a look at the purchase column to see the number of customers who purchased the product and non-purchased. So I'm going to execute and open the views. It'll load, and as we can see, we see a pie chart over here which says non-purchased and purchased. So this is the purchased part. It has predicted the actual column actually contains 52 values which actually where the customers have actually purchased the product, and 28 values where the customers have not purchased the product. So this is the visualization that we actually get over here with the actual test data. So now let's have a look at the model. After training the model, after we have a predicted data, and I've fed the predicted data into the donut chart. Now I'm going to visualize how the predicted data, the number of purchased and non-purchased values that the predicted data has. So I'm going to click on execute and open views, and here we can see that there is a slight change. Here the number of values that has purchased is 57, and the number of values that are not purchased is 23. So totally it contains 80 because the testing data contains 80 rows. So as you can see over here, this is the visualization of the exact test data of the actual column. You can see 52 and 28, and this is the prediction of the predicted column. This is the visualization of the predicted column. It contains 57 purchased values and 23 non-purchased values, and that had this is a visualization of how things panned out after you predicted the model, and a visualization of how your model came out after prediction. So this is about using the KNIME software in order to use visualization. There are various other software available as well. So for this particular model, I took the dataset from Kaggle. So just to summarize, I took the dataset from Kaggle. I used the social networks ad. It contains 400 rows. I fed all the usual things that we actually use in a Jupyter Notebook or any other software. For training the models, I've done the CSV file, I've done the normalization, I've done the partitioning where I split into testing and training data, and then I've selected the target node and I've built a logistic regression model, which will actually give me the probability that the customer will predict where customer will purchase the product or not. And then we'll move on to the prediction values, where we'll be predicting using the testing data, which is very important, and it has been clearly mentioned over here using the workflows. From this point, I've taken the testing data and I've used this particular model on the testing data and predicted the values. And we saw a visualization of how the testing data was, the actual testing data, the actual number of values of purchase, the non-purchase columns, and the visualization of the model as to how it predicted the purchased and the non-purchased products. And then we have to look at the accuracy statistics, where we had an accuracy of 86.3%, which is a decent accuracy for any model which you're predicting. And then we had a look at the confusion matrix, where we had a look at the number of true positives, where the purchased, where the actual value is purchased and the predicted value is purchased. And there are 4 possibilities: purchase, non-purchase, non-purchase, purchase, true negatives, true positive, false positive, and false negative. We had a look at all those things. So that completes my DA presentation. So thank you, sir.